Uh, just some thoughts. Wanted to capture what I was thinking. Um, so here we are, September 23rd, 2020. And the different stuff that I've done, different businesses, from being in the motel business, C-store, gas stations, non-quick service restaurant franchises, and then moving on to development work in terms of, residential, single-family homes as well as apartment buildings. I'm coming to realize here in my mid 40s that I could no longer just focus on just one sector. That I need to understand how the whole machine works. Um, this is coming from somebody who has done a BBA, MBA, and really struggled with both, especially economic classes, both micro, micro, macro, both on undergraduate as well as graduate level. But today I find it fascinating. So some observation. I've really become a student of history. So going back several hundreds of years, what I've tried to have done is the kind of stuff that I'll talk about. Not only do you have to, listen to or look at historians. You got to look at money and finance people, economists, people who understand geopolitics as well, and then look at it, over a longer period of time. So just some thoughts, some observations as I look at, read different stuff, listen to different people. I think there are some challenging times ahead of where we are. There are some things that I thought I knew, and then other things that I don't know that I don't know. Basically, saying it a different way. Yeah, some things I know a little bit about. Other things I know quite a bit about. And then there are other things that I don't know. And then there are also things that I don't know what I don't know. And this is one of those things that I never really paid attention to. As looking at this, for example, as I read history, coming across, over the last decade or so, or a couple of decades, I realized that there were business cycles, that happen every 8 to 10 years. You kind of read about them, you kind of go through them, but now I've been thinking for the last several years that next time that happens, how do I take advantage of these business cycles? So I've been preparing. Now that I'm studying history, I'm coming to I've learned that there are other longer term cycles that I haven't possibly didn't quite see. Ray, I talked about him in a previous videos. Ray talks about these cycles. He doesn't talk about. I mean, there are quite a few cycles that happen, and this has been true for recorded history, recorded human history. Ray doesn't talk about the demographic cycles or the technology cycles and what have you, but there are many different cycles. So where we're at in history today, I'm coming to realize that I can't just think about, what I do specifically. I have to understand how, the big picture works, and how do I fit in, and how do I position myself and my family and possibly future generations, God willing. Anyway, that's besides the point. But what do I learn? What can I learn? I don't know. I'm a geek that way now. It's fun. It's fascinating. So we'll just talk about this one thing. And here we are in September 2020, and what I've seen unprecedented amount of money printing from the Fed. Uh, a clear picture is emerging just last week or the week before Fed came out. We're saying, we will, we're gonna let the inflation, we should have a little bit higher inflation. My God, I'm old enough to know, man, things were a little bit different before. They used to talk about inflation, they wanted to control it. Now they wanted to let it run up. Now, backing up with history, I've never in my lifetime, or maybe I never really paid attention. Also in my lifetime, I've never seen a time like that we are in today. And it's similar to, looks like, from the 1930s, Great Depression era. Well, why do I say that? If you look at the tools, you look at both monetary and fiscal policy, where the interest rates are close to zero, as close to negative interest rates we have today, just like we did then. The disposal, the tools that Feds, Fed and both monetary and fiscal policy. I'm trying to tell you that the central banks and the federal governments all across the globe, that the tools that they have to their disposal are very limited now. Drinking a cup of tea here, it's like, if you could imagine the tea, it's just like, given in case of the Fed, it's stimulant in a bottle. It's limited. There's not infinite amount of stimulant. Where we are today, when the economy heats up, things are doing great. They increase the interest rates to slow things down a little bit, to control the inflation. What we've seen on the course of last decade or so with the GFS, global financial crisis, what they did then, the money printing, and what's happening right now with the COVID, it just the money printing. The Fed seems like bent on destroying the dollar. As you listen to different people, you have this velocity of money, basically. If you could look at it in that light, when COVID happened, economy, for that matter, was basically shut down. A large percentage of it, all across the globe. Now let's talk about it here, just within the U.S. itself. It's escaping me who said that. This virus that happened, this virus is agnostic, whereas economy revolves around money. When you shut down the economy, what does that do? The velocity of money comes to, it slows down. Money isn't being moved around within domestically here within the U.S. Likewise, internationally, all across the globe. So now within domestically, and I would say other central banks have done the same thing. U.S. or the Fed has printed enormous amount of money. If you look at their balance sheet, it took 80 some years to get to where they were. And then just within a matter of a month or a couple of months, their balance sheet was tripled, based on the dollars that they printed. So what does that do? I asked I'm not sure. I'm just trying to understand this. If you look at some economists, the Keynesian economists mainly, that this had to happen to prevent a total collapse of the system, or to prevent a depression. Well, okay. Well, that argument says that it had to be done. If you didn't do it, things will get very, very bad. Okay, that you wanna understand both. You wanna listen to both side of the argument. But man, what does that do? For example, inflation now. The Fed, all along, they wanted to tame inflation. Now they're saying, well, you know, we're going to let it run up a little bit. Well, what is that going to do? Being a BBA, MBA, if I recall correctly, just the definition of inflation, I thought it was when prices are rising faster than the prices of goods and services are rising faster than incomes. Here, I'm learning that it's not a pricing. Inflation is not a pricing phenomenon. It's a monetary phenomenon, and more importantly, it's the cruelest form of taxation. Also, as I read history, not getting into politics and all, but you know, in Reagan years, you know, he was a true conservative, fiscal conservative, and then likewise, I believe it was, you know, Paul Volcker. He let really the rates, you know, run up quite a bit. Again, just like we do at home, it's tough to do the responsible stuff. Like we manage our households, our families, our businesses. When things get a little tough, we have to tighten up our belts. You know, so likewise, you have to do the same thing, I believe. I understand today. You have to do the same thing, you know, with both monetary and fiscal policies. And I don't see that today. Where as much money as I'm going back to the balance sheet of the Fed, my gosh, I don't see rates going up quite a bit. Because near zero interest rates is all that the Fed or the country could afford. Imagine if the rates were, forget about what they were before, if they were 3, 4, 5%, what it does, you can't even service your debt. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is very interesting times. And what the reason this has gone on for so long, my rant is going longer than I had anticipated. This irresponsible behavior. I'm an American, and as I read history, picture that's really starting to emerge to me is this irresponsible behavior. I mean, in 1945 with the Bretton Woods Agreement, you know, dollar becoming the reserve currency, and then in the 1970s, where, you know, and in the 1940s when it started, it was, the dollar was pegged to you know, to gold. It was, you know, based on gold standard. You know, gold back then I believe was $35 an ounce. You know, so in the 1970s they got off the dollar standard. U.S. learned that, man, we could just print our money, ourselves out of our troubles. Well, we have continued to do that. You could do that as long as you have the reserve currency status. You know, there's a fine line, it looks like to me. You won't know until you've crossed it. So what I'm getting at is, what I'm learning is dollars days as reserve currency are numbered. You know, when will it happen? It's more of an evolutionary type of a process. You know, when that happens, no longer can you print money then you have to do the right thing, the responsible thing. If you want to import, you have to export. If you want to invest, you have to save. Again, tough choices ahead. Anyways, my talk here is getting long, but very, very interesting times ahead. This may seem like doom and gloom. I'll end it with the fact that based on where we are, it looks like history tells us that this is supposed to happen. History doesn't always repeat itself, but as the old saying goes, it rhymes. Given where we are, I think there are tough times ahead, but it's not all doom and gloom. How do we get past that? The reality is, U.S. for its short history, what it has achieved, really phenomenal. The infrastructure is still there, the buildings are still there, the homework's still there, the technology is still there, the intellectual capital is still there. There are some tough time ahead. How do we get through it? That's a discussion for a different day. But looking at the Fed's behavior, the Fed is looking to destroy the dollar. What are the alternatives? We'll have that conversation for a different day.